I'm Dr. Steve Rudnick, and I'm the Chief Medical Officer of Noble Physicians. And today we're talking with two folks that I've known for many years in the health community. And I'm going to have you guys introduce yourselves, Matt Wetter and Tim Lesh.
Hi, I'm Matt Wetter with Turning Point Studio. We've been in downtown Auburn for about 11 years. I'm a certified personal trainer, and I'll hand it off to Tim.
Hi, I'm Tim Lesh. I am a veteran certified personal trainer with Turning Point Training Studios. I have a CPT from National Academy of Sports Medicine, as well as a corrective exercise specialization and a performance enhancement specialization with National Academy of Sports Medicine as well.
Excellent. And as an internal medicine doctor and somebody who works in wellness and health, I think something about my industry is that it's been focusing on disease. And I think something that I've always appreciated about Matt and Tim is that they focus on wellness and health. And certainly people come to you guys who are in distress with their lives, their bodies. But I just wanted to ask, maybe put Matt on the spot. How did you get started in the fitness industry? And, just start there. And then Tim, if you can chime in after that.
Yeah, no, I started my career as a personal trainer at 24 Hour Fitness. I worked in the Shoreline Club for 6-8 months, and then I moved to the downtown Seattle Club, and I was there for a little over a year, and then I became the fitness manager of the Auburn 24 Hour Fitness, and I was there for a few years, and that's where I met Tim and a handful of the other trainers that I still stay really well connected with, and also that's where I met Rudnick as well. Then from there, I just realized that we could take a little bit different approach to how we dealt with our clients, a little more, a little less about the focus of the gym memberships, more about the focus of the individual's goals. A lot of what we do is focused around just the health aspect. It's not so much of the lose 10 pounds to fit into your bikini by summer, blah, blah, blah. It's more about the general health aspect of things. And yeah.
Excellent. And Tim, how did you get into the fitness industry? And I know you've also been in it for many years, but what was the time frame and how did you and Matt ultimately meet together?
Yeah, so I got into the fitness industry back early 2000s, and actually for me it was more of a necessity. I was kind of a product of the product, so to speak. Started working out with a buddy of mine, and I had some experience in working out, from high school football days in the weight room and things like that. Obviously, push as much weight as you possibly can and try to tear as many ligaments as you possibly can and those types of things. So what happened was, like I said, I ended up joining with a friend at 24 Hour Fitness and, started to see some decent results. And I actually ended up hiring a personal trainer myself and, picked up a lot of the education and, the accountability and those types of things. And soon after, I just kind of ran with it and it started to really work for me. I kind of fell in love with it. And I was offered a job by one of my, one of the managers at the time at the Federal 24 Hour Fitness where I started. And so I worked in the first part of my fitness career, I was actually on the membership side of things. And then probably after, 2 or 3 years, I really enjoyed being in the fitness industry, but I was just kind of over the whole sales aspect of it. Even though, I really enjoyed that portion, I was looking kind of for something a little bit more extended. So, I had already started some education as far as like the national certifications and kind of doing my homework on what was, kind of the gold standards of the bunch. One of the things that I really liked about 24 Hour Fitness is that they actually would, they would compensate you, appropriately to how your level of education was, which I thought was a really good standard. And obviously one of the things that we've adopted at Turning Point Training Studios as well. So that kind of started the path. And then I shifted over into the training side of things where I met Matt actually after a couple of years of being a trainer. Matt came down, like you said, he was one of our managers down in Auburn. And after a few years of working together, I think we had kind of started really going through it. And like Matt said, we realized that we felt like we were in a service industry that had an aspect of sales to it, in a company that was a sales industry that had an aspect of service to it. And so we thought that those were switched. So we had the idea that if we were to focus mainly on servicing and taking care of our customer, that the sales aspect would come on its own. So, it was one of those things where you love what you do, you just don't like where you do it anymore. And, that was, I guess 11 and a half years ago.
Yeah.
11 and a half, 12 years, something like that ago. So yeah, it's been a little bit.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you, guys. I think when I met you guys, I know I had, on a personal level, I'd been struggling with my weight my whole life, and I'd been not very in tune with my body, and didn't really like to exercise. And so I would go through periods of binge eating, and then I would, exercise and starve myself and try to lose weight. And something that I always appreciated about both of you, and I've actually trained with both of you, mostly with Tim, but with Matt as well. I've known both of you for many years. Is exactly what you had said, which is that you really focused on the person. And when you turned to your own organization, and that became the focus, it was really a palpable change. And it's something that, the company that I work for, which is Noble Physicians, also, we approach people treating the whole patient. We don't just look at, your disease. I mean, certainly you got to focus on the concerns at hand, but, looking at the whole person, and we, look at mental health aspect, and we look at, physically, how are they sleeping? How are they feeling? And all that, besides having a label for their disease. So I think, knowing that, and you guys have known that I've gone up and down in my weight, and I'm doing pretty well now. My max was close to 400 pounds. My scale wouldn't even weigh me. I think I was over 400 pounds. And now I'm sitting in the 230s. But I've had different struggles with my physical activity, particularly during the pandemic. And that's something that I wanted to kind of focus on today. I know we have a lot to talk about, but, there's limited time. So I just want to say, Matt, how has the pandemic impacted your industry? And maybe, kind of a broad brushstroke first of how it impacted the industry, and then how has it changed how you do your work? And, Tim, I'd like to hear also how what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. So overall, the way it's impacted the industry, most people probably have noticed themselves, is that most of the gyms have been closed. Right now, there are gyms opening back up, at least here in Washington. If you're in California, you can do some outdoor gym activities, some stuff like that, depending on where you're located. But gyms are still operating at a pretty small clip comparatively. So the current standards as they are today is about one customer per every 500 square feet. So as you can imagine, it still has quite the restraint on the gym industry as a whole. How it impacted us, we right at the beginning of the pandemic switched to going virtual. We had kind of looked into doing the virtual already. A lot of our clients travel, whether it's vacation or business and all of that. And one of our big things was trying to come up with a solve as to how we could keep our clients engaged in their exercise and their programs while they're, say, out of town for 2 weeks, or they've got a vacation home over here, and they're going to be gone for a month or whatever. And how do we keep them engaged in their physical activity and all of that? And so this was something that we saw as a potential solution. We weren't quite expecting it was going to become our entire business model, but luckily, because we'd already done the homework behind that, and we actually had already committed to start doing some of that stuff, we already had some equipment ready to go. And it made the transition fairly easy for us, and it also enforced everybody to try it. So that for us, really, we've put a huge emphasis on the virtual training. We do virtual classes. All of our one-on-one personal training sessions are now done online. So in short, we saw some negative impact right off the bat, but from there we've been able to make the transitions with every industry having to kind of make transitions to do virtual stuff, whether you're talking about Zoom or Teams or whatever. These systems have become pretty amazing, actually. And so we've been able to make our personal training sessions feel very much like a in-person one-on-one training. So yeah, I mean, we've been able to adapt pretty well.
That's excellent. Yeah, and Tim, I know obviously being in the same industry, your experience during the pandemic has been similar. I mean, looking at it from the lens of a doctor and knowing that my first, hope is that we get rid of this pandemic and we're going to be able to do in-person visits. What do you think about the use of these televisits for you guys, and how have you adapted your process? And also, what do you think about the future for this? I mean, once the pandemic's gone, do you think you're ever going to do any training online, or do you think it's going to be a blend? What do you think that's going to look like?
Well, I actually think, and it's really interesting because if you were to look back, say, remove ourselves a year and a half ago before the pandemic hit, especially in our area, because, it has grown so much. One of the biggest excuses that we would get from people is they just don't have time, right? Whether it's the commute, whether it's I got to get here, I got to get there, work this, all this stuff. And, and I remember looking up in the beginning of the pandemic, they said the average person in the Seattle metro area was commuting an hour and 46 minutes a day. That's door to door, right? From home to back, right? Work. And so when you think about, you don't have time, and now 90% of people's commute is virtually gone, right? They're working from home, or because of the fact that even if they are going to the office, what was usually an hour and 46 is now down to maybe 40 minutes, right? So we've kind of given them that hour back, and with my clients, it's always I always will harass them on fall back, because every year I will always text them, hey, this is National Workout Day because you got that extra hour that you didn't have, in the fall. So anyway, I would say the huge blessing in disguise, like Matt said in the beginning, there was definitely some fallout, like most people, whether it was stress, whether it was, all these different sorts of, kind of the sky is falling sort of thing. And for some people, that's very real. It really was. Obviously, the virus really impacted a lot of people's homes, a lot of people's families, people lost their jobs. And then I think for the majority of people, once they realize that this isn't going anywhere and this is kind of, going to be the new normal, unfortunately, for a while, I think, again, the silver lining to that is that we've had to adapt a workout program for them that no matter where life takes them, whether that be vacation, whether that be, long commuting hours, we've developed a program that mostly comes with you everywhere you go. And that's whether it be body weight, a couple of resistance bands, looking at things around the house, like, jugs of milk that we, once they're done, we rinse them out and fill them back up with water. And now we've got weights there. We've got, cans of soup. I mean, couches, steps in your home, steps off of your deck. I mean, we really have been able to be creative with the things that are around you. And so obviously on the other side of this, we feel like people are going to be real excited to get back into the gym. But for a lot of the people, I know myself included, I now have, 3 children under the age of 5, and getting into the gym or just getting really anywhere other than, going crazy seems to be the only place you get to go regularly. And so, with that, it's so much easier to be able to go, okay, I'm going to give myself 15, 20 minutes, whatever it be. Maybe that's all I can, whittle out of my day. But with the things that I have, I know I can get something done, and I think that, like you said, for me, with my weight, which I've struggled with up and down throughout, and then of course throughout the pandemic, I've also had issues with it. You kind of learn to develop that no matter what mentality. And so no matter what, I'm going to get something in today. Maybe it's not that hour that you'd love to do, but a 15-minute, full body workout that we can get in just with things around your house is much better than that hour-long workout tomorrow, right? So like I said, it really has helped us kind of devise those things and create a different plan for people that takes away so many of the different excuses. One being time, and then 2 being, equipment I don't have, which fortunately for us, coming from, a well-appointed, private studio, we didn't really have people that were so set. I remember back in the days of working at 24-Hour Fitness where, the whole routine was based off of, 40, 50 pieces of equipment out in the gym, and they could legitimately tell you, well, I can't do that at home. Well, okay, so now we're finding all these different ways to do that at home, right? And be creative with it. So So yeah, I guess roundabout, come back to the original part of the question. Definitely, I see it as really being a positive side, because ultimately there's still the key part of, working with people, I believe anyway, is accountability. So that one-on-one time, whether it be in person or online, I don't think will ever go away. But just as a result or a side effect of things that have happened, learning to create a program based around what they have with them. And like I said before, no matter where they go, no matter where life takes them, they'll have no excuse not to be able to get something in. And so for those people on the other side, yeah, I definitely see, I would say 25-30% of the market moving forward will be able to capitalize on that, because as people are moving away from the cities and kind of moving further out, and as the kind of climate has changed where we don't necessarily need to be so close to the cities and we could be further away, well, now those people can continue their workout. Maybe they're not 20 minutes away from the gym anymore, maybe they're an hour away from the gym. Well, if we can connect with them online, whether it be a one-on-one, whether it be a small group class, or whether it be an actual full group class, we're kind of taking away and alleviating those excuses, at least on our end. Obviously, life is going to happen, things are going to come up, but if we can set them up with the most tools for success, that's really our job as personal trainers. Is I usually tell people, unfortunately, I'm the biggest tool in your toolbox, but that's all I am, is I'm just a tool in the toolbox. So.
Yep. No, that's great, guys. It brings up a couple of the other subjects that I know we wanted to hit on today. The changes with the pandemic clearly, changed a lot of our industries in a big way. And then I think what's interesting is that in the future, most likely a lot of these things that we're doing during the pandemic will be probably incorporated into our new way of life. So there's still going to be telemedicine. There's still going to be people that are going to be sitting in their homes or on vacation or wherever they're at and doing sessions with you guys. And I love that you guys have found the ways to adapt to do that. Tim, something near and dear to my heart, like you said, there's been an ongoing struggle, and I had lost a ton of weight. I mean, I've lost about, close to 170 pounds or so, give or take. And with that, at the times when I've, re-engaged with my bad behaviors, something that I've always appreciated that you taught me years ago, and I know Matt also endorses this kind of approach, is that you start where you're at. You don't beat yourself up, and you guys are always, have been of the mindset of you work where people are at and you build them up. And so I kind of wanted to ask about that, your process, and I could start with Matt. It's not always about, the number on the scale. It's about, our mindset. And I'm just wondering, what's your process to get people started taking those baby steps? Because a lot of people, they're scared, and I'm one of them too. I didn't want to start losing weight. I was scared. I also, being somebody who knows about addiction and compulsion, I would numb out with food. I would numb out with, drink back in the day, all those things. So these are things that I think a lot of people will resonate with. But tell me, how do you get started and start somebody in that process? And then Tim, I'll ask you also the same question. How would you get started when somebody's, scared, and what kind of baby steps do you take to get started with that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So, like we've already said, everything's individual based, right? For the specific individual that I'm meeting with, or that we're meeting with. So, some people are coming in because they have an ache or a pain that they need to deal with, and we will get them moving. We're going to take a look at what are the postural deviations and distortions that are happening. Why is there this pain, and how do we do some corrective exercise to deal with that? And we focus on simple things first. So one of the mistakes I've seen so many people make, I've been a trainer now like 15, 16 years. And one of the things that people will do is they try to overcommit. So like, I want to lose 100 pounds, and I'm going to work out 5 days a week, and I'm going to completely change my food intake. Well, that is probably a little bit overzealous and somewhat unrealistic. And some people have been able to do that, sure, but it's a very small percentage of people who've been able to do that and then maintain some level of success with it. My recommendation for most people is we figure out something very simple and we start with one or two things. And again, it totally depends on the individual that I'm meeting with, but let's just say it's somebody who wants to lose a little bit of weight. The first thing we're going to focus on is just simply get you moving a little bit. You know, you're going to come in. I'm not going to say we need to train 3 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever. I want to meet with you a couple times a week. And then I want to give you one or two things to do outside of the gym. And then I just want you to just start by just writing down what you eat. And then from there, we'll start taking a look at simple things we can do to make adjustments to what you're already doing from a food intake standpoint. Because a lot of times it doesn't mean you have to cut out all of this stuff or we have to throw it all out and start this whole new meal plan that's totally scripted. Now, there are some people that want to get that serious with it and get that specific with it, and we can do that. But most people, it's about like making small changes that are sustainable, because you know, that motivation that you have tends to be spurred on as you see results. You lose that first 5 pounds, and that kind of gives you a little bit of wind to kind of push you forward, and you go, oh, well, okay, well, that wasn't too bad. I'm only working out a couple times a week, and I'm going for a walk 3 nights out of the week. And instead of eating, eggs and bacon for breakfast, I'm now eating eggs and oatmeal, or whatever it is we figure. But it's small little changes that are sustainable, that are something you can build upon. So that to me, I've seen with my clients the most success by picking those things and chipping away at those.
You know, in a similar question, but also maybe to drill down a little bit more, what do you know, I know you were never a person who would come and come at me and make me feel bad for struggling. But when you see somebody struggling, how do you try to encourage them to get back on track? And what do you think is different in your approach that's been effective for you? Like what has been your success secret for that?
So I think the biggest part about really understanding where people are and where they want to go, I think the first part of that, so like Matt just covered kind of the what we do specifically. The next portion of it is we try to figure out why we're doing it. And for them, every person is different. So like you said, we're catering their workout around them, and that's the physical portion of it. But the why portion of it is we try to really develop that. I always tell the new trainers when they come in, personal comes before training for a reason. And that's because that personal aspect of what sets us aside from an app, which everybody has on the phone, what sets us aside from, just a major group class that you're just a drop in the bucket. And not that there's anything wrong with those, because I think those are great as well. But really, when you take time to get to know the client themselves, you get to know, what it is that makes them tick, I guess, so to speak, and why they came in here. I think that's what really helps kind of bond that relationship with them, build that trust with them. And then they know that, you're not there to beat them down. I mean, anybody can, usually the average person has beat themselves down more than enough. I remember hearing back in the day at 24 Hour Fitness that they said that the average person who signed up had been into the parking lot at least twice and driven away before. And that, whether that be, the fear or the anxiety of going in, the maybe not giving themselves enough time to really dedicate to going in, but and so that's one of the things that we really try to bring that wall down and actually kind of, so coattailing into this portion of the pandemic, I've actually found with a lot of my clients that, not to say they weren't pushing in the past, but I know for some people, they don't want to see or be seen struggling, rather. They don't want to have a group of people, even if they're as comfortable as they possibly can be. And we obviously always try to, create that atmosphere for them. But if it's an exercise that maybe they don't want to show that they can't do it, or maybe they don't want to show how hard it is for them to get back up and down off the floor. Well, now when they're in the privacy of their own home, I've seen that a lot of my clients are actually pushing further and harder because they're not worried. If they go to get up and their shirt lifts up and maybe a little bit of midsection shows that they normally would be really embarrassed by, or maybe, they, whatever it is, they're shuddering, they're so shaky that they can't even do a push-up. I know so many guys that, can't even do X amount of push-ups. And it's like now now they don't feel like they have that fishbowl kind of atmosphere, that audience. And I actually see them really willing to push through some of those things. So, all of those put together with, like I said, really finding out what it is and why it is, kind of giving them their quality of life and kind of, figuring out, it's like, maybe if they want to play with their kids, maybe if they want to play with their grandkids, when was the last time that they were in the type of shape that they would like to be in again, and really tap into those feelings and try to figure out, how do we get there, and really kind of planting out, the roadmap, so to speak, with these directions of things are going to come your way. You're going to roll an ankle. You're going to get a cold. You're going to have a meeting that goes late. There's going to be all these things. And really the over time experience has shown us that these are the little things that may seem so insignificant in the moment. Those are the things that end up being that, well, that's where it kind of fell off the rails, so to speak, right? And just like I've lived this so many times in the past, it's okay, start Monday, we're back on track, right? Start tomorrow, we're back on track. And as much as I recognize that from being something that is a pattern that people, will fall into, really the whole notion is like, let's just do it now. Let's not wait till Monday. Let's not wait till New Year's. Let's not wait till whenever. Let's not even wait till tomorrow. Like, just because you had a bad this morning doesn't mean that you can't, make the rest of the day better, right? And so that's where my take is with my clients, and I know Matt as well, and any of the trainers at Turning Point Training Studios is, look, we not only do we get it, we understand it, but we do embrace it, because let's face it, if you could figure this out on your own, you wouldn't need us. So that's what we understand. That's what we're here for. And we're not pushing you into making these mistakes, but it's a part of life. At the end of the day, we could all go figure out how to change our own oil, and we could go figure out how to diagnose this or that and work on our own car, but ultimately we don't. And so you don't go to a mechanic and they look at you and go, "What? You don't know how to rebuild your transmission, you fool." Well, we wouldn't want to treat our clients the same way. We wouldn't want to look at them just because they slipped up and, they lived life a little bit. So really, again, all coming back around full circle into that personal aspect of it, and really tying into what it is and why it is and how we're going to get there. And, and understanding that that's part of life, and, and nothing in life that's easy is worth a darn. You're going to work your butt off for anything that's really worth it. So.
That is beautiful, guys. There's a reason why we still keep in touch, and you guys are the consummate professionals. Your experience really shows through, and especially nowadays, seeing how you have pivoted into this kind of work and still find a way to connect with people is really amazing. I know that was really something that helped me continue with a lot of struggles in my life, keeping the why right in front of me. Why am I doing it? And having that in front of you really makes a difference for just about any kind of a goal that you're setting for yourself. But something else that you mentioned, and I think both of you said it in different ways, is that when you fail, and Tim, you said it more specifically, kind of like in an approach, which is, you don't have to wait till like, I'm just going to do this on Monday. And I know with the habits, the healthier habits that I've gotten into regarding food, I still struggle with binge eating, and, I'm imperfect at it, although nowhere near what I used to do in the old days. And so my style of eating, my pattern of eating now has been to eat about every 2 to 3 hours every day. That's, from the time I get up to the time when I go to bed, and I have portion control, and it's what I'm eating also. There's certain things I feel like, just like an alcoholic can't have can't have booze, I can't have certain foods. And if I do, I know I'm really putting myself at risk of going down the rabbit hole. So, I always think that I'm just 2 hours away from a better choice. And what you said really makes a huge difference. And I don't think people realize that just because they had a screw up this morning or this afternoon doesn't mean you have to wait until Monday. Because listen, you're going to do a lot more damage and keep on pummeling yourself down in a worse headspace potentially. So, and I think that's, I wanted to ask a couple more questions, and then, kind of wrap up, because I know we have a lot of subjects we can cover together and individually that I think would be very interesting to talk about. But what do you think are your biggest struggle points? And I'll ask both of you individually about that. And then, want to just kind of wrap up by asking what it is that we didn't say that you want to say. But let's start with, what is the biggest struggle you have, Matt, in working with clients now in the pandemic, but in general, and how do you regroup and try to reapproach them? And I'll start with that one.
So, what are the biggest struggles that we have with our clients? In what way? In what way? I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I understand.
Yeah. So like, when people are struggling with becoming successful in moving forward in their health, working with a trainer, what are some of the obstacles that you see that commonly come up, and how do you approach those? Like, what are the simple ways that seem to be effective in helping them get past some of those obstacles?
Yeah, I think a lot of that, Tim did cover a lot of that, and that I think he said it pretty well, is that, a lot of it is getting back to the why and the reason why you're doing it, and hitting that reset button and just going, I'm not gonna further my stumble down this hill, of making poor choices from my food standpoint, or I missed my workout today, or whatever. It's, being able to hit that reset button rather quickly. That really does help. I do think that the struggles that we see now today are some of the same, but there's also some different ones. And a lot of it is the mental aspect of people being quarantined and not being able to get to the gym and do their thing, and not having the engagement of being with people and all of that stuff. And so for a lot of people, one of the things I've noticed with some of my clients is the motivation factor has been a struggle for people, just because a lot of the mental battles that we're all going through right now. And so, kind of working through those things is having that personal connection with our clients and seeing where they're at in that moment, and then, tailoring the workout appropriately for that individual. So, today I just don't got it, and I'm not going to be doing burpees today because they don't have it today. Mentally, they're just not in this thing. So I'm gonna work them through a workout that I know is appropriate for where they're at today. That's been one of the biggest things I've had to adjust during this time frame. But a lot of it is, like we said, it's a matter of meeting the person where they're at, whether that's overall or even in that individual day. I think that's probably the main point, or the main thing that we've pivoted pretty well in this moment.
Excellent. Thank you. And Tim, what would you say, do you have any specific example that you could share, about your secret sauce of getting people over that threshold of an obstacle? And I know you shared some examples earlier, but anything, like any one story that might stick out in your head? Obviously, you don't have to give any names or anything. Steve Rudnick. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
Right.
Definitely. So I think there's the age old, adage saying, the cliche, failing to plan is planning to fail, right? And so what we're really trying to do, and I think one of the biggest struggles for people is, so I've always said this, again, you're going to get a lot of Timisms in this. So, the three things that I think every person's looking for when working with a personal trainer. Okay. So you've got education, you've got motivation, and by far and away, in my opinion, you got accountability, right? And so there's really something to be said when it comes to that, actual in-person, putting yourself in the atmosphere, putting yourself, with that person. You're really getting the best vibe you possibly can, whether they had a bad day at work, whether they had, the kids are just running around going crazy, whatever that may be. I think that is something that people are really, that's what they were used to getting. And so I think one of the biggest struggles after a certain amount of time with myself in particular, with my clients, is that, here I just said that some people are really thriving in that atmosphere, in that environment. I think there's other people who then, because maybe you're not watching them 100%, because maybe they can step away from the camera, or the camera can't follow them to every angle, or maybe they are working out and the kids are doing school behind them or whatever, so maybe they can't give that same level of oomph. And so noticing those things and trying to come up with a plan to really, help them thrive and really blossom in the environment that they have to work around them, and catering that and changing that and making it something that they can really shine with. I think that's been one of the biggest struggles. And so for a lot of people, the workout with us isn't just the workout. It's also it could be some of their one-on-one time. It could be some of their, some of their bar time, so to speak. I mean, I know we have, lots of clients who, have said, hey, look, I don't, go on big vacations. I don't go travel here and there. This is kind of my thing. And for those people, the struggle is that it's not just that workout. It's the whole package. It's the communication. It's the, being in the atmosphere with all the other people. It's the conversations with, the other trainers and the other clients and all of those things, and really recognizing that with those people and kind of seeing where their struggles are and trying to help them. I know, obviously we're just personal trainers, but there's really so much more to it. And I think that experience shows you that, when, like you said, when you're really catering this workout program to this individual, you're also trying to help them recognize things in their path. So whether they be speed bumps, obstacles. And so when we're not there, it's like, okay, when was the last time that you got out of the house? When's the last time that you went for a walk? When's the last time you got some fresh air? Can we take this to a park? Whether that be still via Skype or whether that be I can meet you and socially distance, just to get you out of the house, to get you, some sanity and really, seeing that, because over the course of time, you start to see people's momentum slow down. And, ultimately it's like, all right, if we see that this was going really strong in the beginning, but now it's kind of, it's fizzling, it's fading away, recognizing that before it gets to the point to where they drop off. One of the things I tell people in the very beginning, when you first start working with me, there's going to be a day, I know, crazy as it sounds, that we're going to be on different sides of the page here. And I'm going to always come back to this moment right here where we have just discussed all of these things. We've discussed all of your whys. We've discussed all of your hows, and we've come up with a great plan. Your motivation is through the roof. Okay. But somewhere along the way, that motivation starts to fall, and we try to line it up to where your results will grab you and then pull you back up. Well, that's not always going to be the case. So having that plan ahead of time to what do we do when? What do we do when? And it's not a matter of if, but it's always when, because those things again are going to come. The rolled ankle, the work appointment, the cold, all these different things and legitimate excuses. And I can tell you now, as a parent, I have swallowed words that I have given out to clients in the past, more so in this last year than I ever have. And not to say that those words weren't true, but the empathy that I've gained from realizing how much more there is on their plate when you have, the children and all those other things. And again, in this year, we haven't even had the excuses of the ballet practices or soccer practices or after school science fairs or, all these other, going to, the library to research this and that or whatever the case may be. But again, it's really looking at that. So when we say we want you to work out X amount of days a week, it's like, look, I don't need it to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If that works out, that's your schedule, perfect. If it works out that it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, perfect. But I found that if we put that too much into that same, structure, that if Monday doesn't work out and then you feel like you have to wait till Wednesday, which kind of goes back to our starting all over on Monday, it's really thrown everything off. So I guess to wrap this up here is really kind of coming up with that plan and finding their best chance for success, and then really putting it forward and really trying to see those obstacles for them before they're even an obstacle in their mind. And then having a discussion with them to know when we get there, we're going to come back to this moment right here where we've been on the same page. And remember, we're on the same team, but ultimately, I can't do it for you. I can't will it for you. So I think that's really, like I said, been one of my biggest struggles, is seeing those people that really thrive from that personal interaction that they just can't have for one reason or another, and finding ways of, keeping them going, kind of keeping that battery charged, so to speak, whether it's outside getting walks, whether it's, somewhere social distancing, but kind of getting that interaction, and even in some cases, which we can go into, another topic, some of the happy lights, which I picked up on myself, or other different tools, different things that are out there that are available, just to, again, be other tools in our toolbox to help us, overcome a problem before it really snowballs out of control. And then next thing you know, we've fallen off. So,
Yeah. Such great stuff. I'm glad we're recording this. I hope the recording works because the stuff, it's just so rich, honestly. And I see so many pearls of wisdom that you guys have gained over, the years. And, to work with these guys, each one a great trainer and also a great person. And you just can't go wrong working with the philosophy that these fellows have and the expertise. And it's hard to find. I mean, I've seen that there's a lot of fitness apps and things like that. It's hard to find the kind of just wealth of information and the dynamic interaction that you have in real time with these guys in person. Obviously, much better, but during the pandemic, through video, still incredible stuff. So, want to ask one last question, just really just for each of you. What have we forgotten to share just in this last couple minutes? What else do you want us to know about you, Matt, and then Tim, and then we can call it a day. But thanks very much also for doing this. But Matt, go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, I think we've touched on kind of the main points of what, our philosophy is as far as how we approach fitness and with the individual and all of that. I mean, we are open to be able to take on some new clients as far as whether you want to do some one-on-one personal training or you want to go ahead and do some group classes. We're doing those all online right now. And we are definitely available to help you from any angle, whether it's more the group classes or the one-on-one personal training. And if you have any questions individually, please don't hesitate to go ahead and email us or go to our website and reach out to us that way. Yeah, I think that's kind of the main thing there.
Yeah, and I think we'll post this probably in multiple places, but we'll put website, email addresses, make sure that we got contact information for all of you. And Tim, also same question for you. Is there anything that we've forgotten to cover that you wanted to share, or any just parting thoughts that you want to share today?
No, I mean, I think like Matt said, I think we did a really good job of obviously covering things, for the most part. Hopefully we'll go, dive further into each kind of individual subtopic. Really, I think, parting words are, there's many ways of saying it, but, one of the most important things is that you can always better whatever your situation is. You're sitting around, you're looking at yourself, you've got, maybe, you've got this different physical ailment, that different physical ailment. And it's like, whether you're, 8 years old or you're, 80 plus years old, you can always be better. So don't let whatever diagnosis, whatever situation you have, hamper you from being better, not only tomorrow, but just today, and just kind of don't lose that hope or that faith that, things aren't going to be able to turn around. And, and again, like Matt had said earlier, don't bite off more than you can chew. Just try to do something today to be a little bit better for tomorrow. And that's all you can control.
Yep. Well, biting off more than we can chew, that's been one of my big problems for most of my life.
I hear you.
Anyways, guys, thank you so much for your time and your words and your wisdom. Really tremendous stuff. And looking forward to hear more good stuff in the future. I know you guys have a lot planned. And thanks again for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Man.